Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesigningtechtips.com. We're having a bit of fun today with an icon. You can see it sort of bouncing up and down there. It's got a great little shape because we use that box shadow on the bottom of it. When you hover over it, it's going to stop. And they can click on it. You can take them wherever you want to take them. And take their mouse off it. It's going to start bouncing again. And of course, it'll work just as well on tablet and mobile if I hit my F12 key. Here we have it on an iPhone 12. And let's have a look on an iPad Air. There it is on an iPad Air. Great little feature to have on your site. Really easy to do. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the Visual Builder. Okay, let's go down. We'll delete this little icon we got going on here. Great, so I've got a section here. Inside my section, I've got a row with a larger column on the right-hand side, smaller column on the left. I'm going to add a little icon module. There it is right there. Let's go down and select the icon that you want. I'm going to use the question mark like I did last time. I'm actually going to leave it the size that it is by default. I'll show you how to change the size in a moment. Now, if you want it to link to somewhere, down below we've got link. Just pop your link in there, wherever it is you want to take people. Always best practice, if you're linking to your site, leave it in the same window. If not, open it in a new tab. That way your site will stay open. And background, I'm not going to put a background in this at the moment. Okay, let's go over to our design. This is where we can change the size and color of the icon. Top one there is icon. We'll use that same generic blue. Here you can change the icon size. Like I say, I'm going to leave mine exactly as it is. Spacing, everything like that, I'm going to leave just as it is. I'm going to put a 2-pixel white border around it by selecting all 4 sides. And make it 2. You won't really see much because it's white on white backing. But if I add a little box shadow, you'll see it. If I put the all round on, there's the box shadow itself. But it's a square, and that's not really going to work for me. But also, I really just want it on the bottom. So I'm going to put it on the one that I want. To make it round like our icon, I'm going to go back up to the border here. Make sure the chain's checked, it will be by default. I'm going to put 50 and a % sign in there. The background's now round, and we've got a rounded box shadow going on at the bottom there. Great. Well, I'm going to leave that just as it is. I'm happy with that. If you wanted to adjust that box shadow, make it more prominent or anything, you can do that in the box shadow. Take it up to 25. As you can see, gives it a little bit more distance vertically. And if you wanted to make that darker, you can do that by bringing the opacity up. It'll bring more of the color back in there. Anyway, make it however you want it. Great. So we've got our basic icon there, but I want it to bounce. I want it to change color, and I want it to get smaller. So we can do pretty much all of that in our icon settings here. Let's move it a little bit closer so we can see what's going on. So I'm going to go over to the advanced, to the custom CSS. In the freeform CSS tab, we can write selector, which will select our icon module itself here. Then we can open and close some curly brackets. We can tell it what we want it to do. Well, I want to create an animation. So I'm going to say animation, colon. We'll give it a name. I'm going to call it BCI, bouncing icon. That's my shorthand, if you will. I'm going to run mine for perhaps 2 seconds. I'm going to make it infinite. I want it to be smooth, so I'm going to make it linear too. Great. Now we've told it we want an animation called BCI. We're going to create that animation using keyframes. So I'm going to say at keyframes. The name of it, BCI. Now we can open and close some more curly brackets and tell it what we want it to do. Well, I want it to bounce. So I'm going to use margin to do that. So I'm going to say when the page loads, 0%, that'll be the beginning of second one of our 2 seconds up there. I'm going to open and close some more curly brackets. I'm going to say margin top. Just going to have a 0 in there because I want it to be in the original position when the page loads, where it is right now. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it in down below. I'm going to change that to a 50, the second one we're working on here. I'm going to say margin top for this one, 20 pixels. So it's going to push it down by 20 pixels. As you can see, it started bouncing already, just exactly what we want. Now, if you wanted it to go the other way, if you wanted it to go up instead of down, you can make that negative 20 pixels. And it starts off in the original place and goes up. I'm going to put that back to 20 because I want it to bounce downwards. Now, what you're going to find, I've adjusted my row so you're not going to see it here. Let's just save this. I'm going to put my row back to how a normal row would be, and you'll see something strange. We go into my design and my sizing. I gave my row a minimum width of 200 pixels because if you don't, what happens here? We're okay on desktop, but if I switch to tablet mode now, and we roll back up, you can see our whole content's moving here because it's pushing the whole content up and down. This is why we need a minimum height. To fix that, I think I gave this a minimum height of perhaps 400 pixels on tablet. As you can see, got this bouncing up and down, but our content below has stopped. What about on mobile? Seems to be okay on mobile. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's going to work fine on mobile. Back to desktop. That's the only thing. Check it on tablet and mobile if you're going to use it on those devices, because you may have to give this a fixed height to stop pushing our content below down once you make this animation. Fantastic. Well, now that's fixed. Let's go back into our icon. I want it to change color as well. And also I want it to kind of stretch around that border. Now to do that, let's go back in there. Back to our custom CSS. You'd think if I just changed the color on here by putting semicolon, and let's say color purple, nothing's happening. Or we could try background. And look what happens when I do that. It's actually changing the color of the background of the icon itself, the whole module in the back, which is not going to work for us at all. We need to actually target that icon itself. To do that, if we look over in our module elements down here, we've got icon element. We hit the question mark. It tells us the class name for it. ETPB icon. So we can go back to our custom CSS and we can just target that. So let's do that. To just target that, we need to put our cursor after selector and put in that class name. It was a class name, elegant themes - page builder - icon. Now if I change that back to color, it should change the color of the icon. Fantastic, just what I wanted. But I actually only want that color when it's halfway through, so I'm going to take it out of here. I'm going to select it, Control X to cut, and Control V to paste it. Put a semicolon there after our inches there. See, it's turning purple at the bottom there. Fantastic. I also want it to shrink when it gets down there as well. So let's put a little semicolon after our color here. Still within those curly brackets right there, semicolon. I'm going to say transform, colon scale. Put some round brackets at the end without a gap. And let's take it down to perhaps 80%. 80 and a percent sign. Fantastic. It's now scaling down there. And we've created that interesting effect with the box shadow at the bottom. So great. That's pretty much doing everything I wanted to do. Just to make sure this is going to work properly, let's tidy this up a little bit. I'm going to put the transform scale 100% in the top here, so it knows it's coming from 100%. Make sure we change that to a 100. So it's starting off the correct size. Fantastic. Well, it's doing everything that we want it to do now. But when they hover over it, I want it to stop so they can click on it and go to the link, whatever link you want to put in there. So to do that, I'm going to copy my selector all the way down to that first curly bracket there. Control-C to copy. I'm going to roll down. I'm going to drop down. I'm going to paste it in just down below. After the icon with no gap, right after the N of icon, I'm going to put a colon and the word hover. We've now created a hover state where we can tell it what we want it to do on hover. I'm going to say animation none. Now when you hover over it, it's going to stop, go back to its original position. Take your mouse off, it's going to start animating again. Fantastic, just exactly what we wanted. And I'll put all this code down below for anybody who wants to copy and paste it, adjust it to your needs. Let's just save our changes here. Make sure this is going to work on the front end. We'll save the page changes. And let's exit the Visual Builder. And there it is. Great little feature to have on your site. When we put our mouse on it, it's going to stop. Take the mouse off. It's going to start bouncing up and down again. And if you want to change that, if you want to make it quicker, obviously take the 2 seconds timing. Take it down to 1 second, it'll be a lot faster. Take it up to 3 or 5 seconds, it's going to be a lot slower. I think that 2 seconds is quite nice, but that's entirely up to you. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them down below the video. Be happy to answer them for you or make a little demo video just like this one. So once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.